Some time back, I did a video where I was reviewing one of King Human's videos, and I mentioned something about making money by drop shipping certain types of electronics from China, Singapore, and Japan. Okay, now a lot of people who do drop ship, they think, or if they buy from a source overseas, they assume that you can't buy anything name brand. They think that you only can buy generic items like generic accessories for electronics, things of this nature. And they assume that if you can buy anything from overseas that's name brand, it must be fake. Okay? But this is actually not correct. First, it should be altogether obvious to a lot of people. Maybe it isn't obvious to everyone. But most items are made overseas these days. I've done research on various companies. Apple makes all of its items now over in China via Foxconn. Not everything, but a lot of their iPhones and things of that nature. They used to actually have various vendors in different countries, and they would all assemble them in one place. But they eventually realized they could just have all their vendors in China for all the different parts, for like the iPhone, for example. Samsung back in 1992 started putting all their manufacturing over in China. They have 13 factories in China. Nokia, they have 4 factories in China, and they make 200 million phones in China. Okay, they also have still 3 factories in Finland. Okay, they started out in Finland. They actually have several countries that Nokia is in. Now, the only thing is there's a lot of fake electronics that you can buy from China as well, because they don't respect trademarks the way they do in America. And they have like a different way of looking at it. Okay. First, a lot of these I used to be a mechanical engineer, which means I used to design parts. Okay, mechanical engineers, I worked for a company called Navistar, and I worked on the cabin white, the body of medium duty trucks. And there's like thousands and thousands of parts on a truck. And of course, our company didn't make all the parts. We actually had lots of vendors that made the parts, and we would purchase them from them and use them in our vehicle. Okay. The same is the case with cell phones and all other types of electronics. So what happens is a lot of these vendors are in China that make parts for the iPhone. They have a secondary market where they can basically sell these parts to another company, and that company will assemble a phone that looks just like the iPhone. Why does it look just like the iPhone? Because it's the same parts from the same vendors that actually sell their parts to Apple. You see what I'm getting at? Now, of course, that still makes them fake, right? Because even if they do have the same parts, what often happens is these companies that assemble these fake phones, what they do is they'll put inferior sizes in there. They'll have a lower resolution, a smaller camera, less RAM, less ROM, memory. They'll change a lot of stuff. And some of them will be disingenuous, and they'll actually put the name brand on it. So these are obviously counterfeit goods, right? Which are illegal. However, and that's probably, then you also have the fakes, you wouldn't call them fakes, but you would find these non-branded ones, which compete with the Apple iPhone, because the same vendors that make the parts for the Apple iPhone sell those parts to this other company, and this other company isn't doing anything disingenuous. They're just making a different phone with a different brand on it, some brand you never heard of. And you'll see them sell for a far cheaper price sometimes on various websites. But actually, the parts could be very well the exact same parts you see in the Apple iPhone. However, there might be specs that might be different. That's where some of the cost savings is. And actually what you'll find out is with a lot of these, I'm just talking cell phones, for example. We could talk about any type of electronics, but we'll just talk cell phones. Okay, so if you take a non-branded cell phone that, some company, let's just call them, I don't know, Sycor. Okay, Sycor makes a phone, and they buy all the same parts from the same companies that Apple uses for the most part. And let's say they make the exact same size phone as like the iPhone 6, okay, whatever. So it actually costs almost the same price. If you go and try to buy that non-branded phone, it'll be just a little bit less price because those parts are the same parts and it costs a lot to make that phone. That's what you find out. So generally speaking, if you see a cheap phone, it's because the specs are really bad. Or there could even be some fake or disingenuous things going on. Okay, but see, I'm saying all this stuff so you understand kind of the concept of what's going on here, because a lot of people don't know about what I'm talking about, and they think they understand this topic, but they really don't. There are actually real suppliers that sell real phones from China, where you can buy them on one of these Chinese websites. They're kind of hard to find, but once in a while you'll stumble across one of them. A lot of them will be selling the fake ones, or they'll be selling the non-branded ones. And usually it's non-branded ones. They don't usually sell the fake ones because they get in trouble. But you can buy the fake ones from them as well. You know, you probably just, hey, do you got the fake one? You know what I mean? But of course, the fake ones will just get you in trouble anyways. You'll just end up having a bunch of returns. Okay, so what you find out, though, is that there are some that really get the real ones. And they have the real, like, iPhone. They have the real Samsung Galaxy. They have the real whatever. Okay? You'll find them here and there. I found a couple. Okay? And they'll be expensive. They won't be cheap. Okay? They will not be cheap. They will be the real deal. They'll be expensive, but there'll be a small profit margin there. And, you know, with cell phones or with certain types of electronics, they sell very fast. So you can get legitimate, real deal, name brand electronics from China to sell on eBay and Amazon, but it's kind of difficult to find them. You have to really do your work. And you have to really test the waters and check out everything. It's not easy. And cell phones are really a difficult one. Cell phones are a really difficult one. I mean, maybe 1 out of 40 is real. You know, this is what I'm talking about. And so you got to really know what you're doing. You got to really look into it. And I've been, you know, sourcing from China and Singapore and Japan for 5-6 years now. So I've gotten pretty good. I've gotten acquainted with certain suppliers. I know, you know, who's telling the truth, who's lying, more so. And you know, I found real deal Nokia and real deal Samsung from China, but it's kind of rare to find them. It's kind of rare, just put it that way. Most of them that I found were just fake. Okay, but what I'm saying is, people like King Human, for example, King Human was saying, all that shit's fake. He put a comment on one of my videos saying that, and look, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He is right if you just take a cursory glance and look through it, and, you know, just test the waters a little bit, you're going to think all of it's fake. But see, the thing is if you really do research and you really do your due diligence, you can find the real ones. You just have to do you have to do your homework. Okay, and it can be well worth it. But you have to be very careful, you see what I mean? So it's one of those type of things. Okay, and I had a source for cameras from Japan, real deal. What kind of camera was that? I can't remember. I can't remember what it was, but I haven't sold it in a while. I stopped selling it, but it was a killer camera. It was real deal. It was from Japan, and there was a good profit margin on it, and I sold several of them. Okay, and had no issues with the customers. There's a certain Nokia that I used to source. I think I took it out of my dropship list just because I didn't want to sell it anymore. Because it's an older model, but it's a very popular one. And it's real deal. Customers loved it. But I remember I had a lot of trouble finding real deal. Okay, I actually quit selling cell phones altogether because it's so difficult to find real deal ones. And I just stayed away from it for like 3 years because it's just so hard. But I've found a couple, and it's really difficult, but like I said, they're there. So if you really... Yeah, I just wanted to put this out there because some people just assume that everything from China is fake, that you can buy online. It's not true. It's a lie. Okay, 90% of it might be fake that claims to be real, but If you know how to do your due diligence, if you have good sources in China, you can really find the real deals. And you can also find them from Singapore and Japan as well. Okay? And I just found a new source. I found a real deal, okay, Samsungs, and I'm going to be putting them on Dropship. And it was difficult to find because there's like a lot of fake stuff, a lot. And you know, it's the supplier is Singapore and it might be some other countries as well, but I know one part of it's Singapore. So, you know, you have Japan, you have Singapore, and you got China. Now with China, you got to be more careful. Japan and Singapore, you don't have to be as careful with. You don't have to be as careful because those countries tend to be more strict with that stuff, anyways. But with China, you got to be more careful. But you can get real deals from overseas, and I just wanted to put that out there because. And actually, I remember when King Human wrote that, I was like, you know, look, man, you might know a lot of stuff, but you're not right about everything. And this is something I've done a lot of research on. And, you know, if you just do a cursory, you know, spend a few months trying it or something, you're going to think that maybe. Okay? Or you might just assume that. Because some people just assume stuff like that as well. And it's actually really annoying because some customers are like that as well. You know, they'll just assume everything you get from China is fake, even though 90% of what you see in Walmart is from China. You know what I'm saying? That's how ignorant people are. But that's just people. That's how they're ignorant. Yeah, this stuff's made by leprechauns in Finland. No, it's not made by leprechauns in Finland. It's made by, you know, villagers from China that move to the big city and work for pennies on a dollar. And you're living off it. And actually, they probably make it for far cheaper than the money you spent. And that company, that American company that took your job and stuck it over in China, are making a shit ton of money. See what I'm getting at? Nobody wants to talk about that. You know, gee, where did all our jobs go? I don't know. It ain't rocket science, people. Matter of fact, Walmart's the one that did it. Walmart forced all the vendors to lower their prices. And the only way they could do it was by moving to foreign countries for labor. So you can thank Walmart that you don't have any more manufacturing jobs here in America. You can thank them because it's their fault. They're one of the main culprits of all the jobs moving overseas. So, I mean, what's wrong with you taking advantage? I mean, if you lost your job to this kind of situation, why can't you make money from what they stole from you? You see what I mean? They took your job, shipped it overseas so they could make more money. Why can't you make money from the same thing? See what I mean? So, I don't know. I just wanted to make a video on this. You have to be very careful. Do a lot of research. Find a good source that doesn't lie to you, that is very honest, and they're good dealing. And then also buy one item, check it out yourself, make sure everything is good, make sure everything's legit before you go on and then start selling. And then of course, when you start selling, even if it's legit, doesn't mean everything's going to go right, doesn't mean you're going to make a profit. So you have to make sure your profit range is good. You have to make sure the customers are enjoying the item or like it, and that everything turns out right. So just wanted to kind of cover that and give some people hope. You know, on the dropship, you can get things that are legitimate overseas. Just don't go for the first thing you find. Don't just slap it up on eBay. That's really stupid, you know, or Amazon. You need to check everything out. You need to do a lot of testing. You need to be very controlled about it, because eBay and Amazon doesn't play games with, you know, fake stuff. They just kick you off. You're just gone. So you need to make sure that you really do your stuff right. Do your due diligence. Because, I mean, a lot of people were talking about Amazon dropship to eBay. And you can do eBay to Amazon as well. But if you just use the standard techniques taught by all these guys, you're not going to make much money. So you got to either use really good techniques for direct dropship like that, or you need to find some good sources in China, or both. And that's kind of what I'm teaching. So